experimental and exploratory, if you will, with all of the kind of music that I was listening to back in the 80s. And it really was a hodgepodge of, I can distinctly remember being on a car trip listening to Tina Marie and Bruce Springsteen.
Welcome to Message Reveal. Message Reveal identifies a vibe, a message, or a story told through lyrics of a song. And if you guys are new and you rock with me, subscribe and find out what Message Reveal is all about. But as you guys know, we have to take care of business. I have to tell you about my special guest that said yes to me. So before we get started, let me tell you a few things about who she is. If I told you everything, we'll be here for 2 days and 2 nights and some more time. So let me just give you a few things. One, she's dedicated to expanding affordable housing to the residents of Southern Nevada. Number 2, she has built partnerships through collaborations and shared leadership. And we definitely have to tap into this because this is a really unique process. She is also the current Chief Housing Officer for Southern Nevada Regional Housing Authority. You guys, please put your hands together and welcome my beautiful guest, Miss Kathi Thoms!
Hallema, thank you for inviting me to be on here today. I really appreciate it, and I am so proud of all that you're doing, sis. Keep doing what you're doing.
Oh, thank you so very much. And I have to say to any of my guests, if you say yes on your Friday to me, I so appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So I just want to get down to the nitty gritty. Before we even start to talk about music, just give us some, because I won't go into detail. I know you've worked for local government as I do. I don't disclose where the location is. And being now in the housing authority, how does those two mediums kind of blend? Oh, wait, you were also in 2 separate government entities. I forgot where I was as well. So how does those mediums blend, even though they're different entities?
Yes, they are so interconnected, not just from a policy standpoint, right? A lot of housing policy in terms of constructing housing gets handled at the local level. And so if you see certain neighborhoods with a lot of single family homes, that was a local decision. If you see other neighborhoods with apartments and multifamily, that was a local decision. So where and how housing and amenities get built in communities, that's all a local decision. So what happens at the policy and guideline level impacts exactly how your neighborhood's going to look.
Well, that's definitely a good way for some of us, because I think they're only looking at it as one way, like the builder came in and they decided, but it's much more than that. And you were able to give us that piece. Speaking of much more than that, let's talk a little bit about music.
Yeah.
Music has turned me all the way out in such an amazing way. And I say that because I want to know, can you identify a song that you have been blessed by, had distractions, or learned some lessons? Now, before you answer, it's a couple of rules to this. If you can sing, I need you to sing your throat box out. If you can rap, I need you to come hard in the paint. But if you cannot do either or any one of those, I need you to talk about the song and the song lyrics with passion. You know, when we say in the streets, stand 10 toes down, I need to be able
Yes.
to feel it. I definitely need to be able to feel it. So I'll go back to my original question. Can you
Yes.
provide a song that either provided lessons, distractions, or blessings for you?
Absolutely. So now I cannot sing, so I will not do that. I'm a shower singer, and that's where all y'all want me to stay with my vocalizations, okay? The song is Broken Man by Anthony Hamilton. Actually, his first two albums were just on constant rotation and repeat because he always has this really good mix of Southern infused wisdom, and he'll drop a few bops in there. And then he has the most interesting twists on love songs and breakup songs.
Mm.
And he's never had an album with a skip on it. When you put them CDs in, you're going to listen all the way through. But when Broken Man came out, I had actually just discovered my own partner was cheating on me. And I thought, wow, how interesting to hear this from a male perspective, and really just underscores, humans, we all feel, we all hurt in similar ways. And you start off with this just absolute disbelief. Like, how could you do this?
Mm-hmm.
Did you think about me at all? Did you
Mm-hmm.
think about me at all? And as you go through the song, he's like, you know what? I didn't even start an argument. I just packed my Gucci bags and left. And now I didn't leave, but I sure enough packed that man's bags and told him to leave. And you get to a point where it's like, why get into the conversation? Why feel any kind of way about what you know to be true? Why you gonna even have a conversation about what they did? It's literally staring you right in the face, right? So I love the song because it is melancholy. And melancholy is both sad and sweet.
Yes.
And it is a sad and a sweet song that is about discovery, understanding, and resilience. And I was able to come out of that situation completely unscathed. And the song was like, did you will I ever love again
Mm.
the way I felt about her? Is his lyrics. And I left that situation not bitter about love, not every man is a dog. Like, no, that man was a dog, right? Like, and it was as I sort of reckoned with what was going on in my life, that song moved from sad to sweet. It's a great melancholy song.
I think that is such a wonderful way because, as you mentioned, we all have been in spaces where we've been hurt. But for you to transition out of it, typically when someone is hurt, it takes them a little while. Like you said, oh, he's a dog, or I can't stand him. And for you to lift yourself up, and I'm pretty sure the song was part of that process to give you a different perspective. And that's why you're here right now, to be
Yeah.
able to tell that story. So I just have to tell you, I have the invisible pew. They're back here. You can't see them. I can't see them. But we're speaking to someone that has been in a situation that you just conveyed, and
Yeah.
you've given them a perspective to say, you know what? Yes, it did hurt me. Yes, I didn't like it, but guess what? I transitioned out of it. So thank you for being transparent. I wasn't expecting that. So we're going to give you a clap for that.
Indeed, indeed.
Yes. So let's transition back to business and let's talk about something that I mentioned at the very beginning, you being a champion to expand affordable housing. That's what I've known from you for ever. You've been in that arena, whether it was with one entity or another. What is the passion behind you really focusing on that? We know it's a need here, but if you can just take us down that lane to give us some information about it.
Yeah, I'm a houser. I believe housing is foundational to everything. You don't have strong communities if you don't have good housing. You don't have stable families if you don't have good housing. You don't have solid economic development. I'm often frustrated that people don't remember that housing is an indicator of economic strength in a nation, not just a city or a state, but in the nation. So goes the housing industry, then you're gonna be on a downturn. And often it is one of those indicators that people overlook, right? You know, a house is not just walls and halls. It's not just sticks and bricks. It is the sanctuary that you return to when you need to retreat from doing battle out in the world. It is the cathedral where you worship and celebrate. It is the hospital where you recuperate from illness. It is the university where you study and learn, right? And it is the sanitarium where you clean it all up, your clothes, your body, and your mind, right? Whatever it needs to be cleaned up, right? It is all of those things. And so if you don't have housing, you're not going to have good health outcomes. You're not going to have good educational outcomes. You are going to struggle in your relationships. You're going to struggle in your mental health, right? Like every aspect of human life can be traced back to the quality of housing. And so when people overlook it like it's something you have to deserve, you have to earn it. No, it's a human right, because every high quality human experience ends up being connected to the quality of housing that somebody has. So if we think only certain kinds of people, quote unquote, deserve to be well housed, we're lacking in our own humanity. It's a human right. And we hoard it, right? Only some people get to have it, or we make it a high priced commodity. So only some people can afford it. And then we don't want to deal with people on the street who don't have it. It's somehow their fault that they don't have it. Remember, I said everything that's happening in your neighborhood is a local decision, it is a political decision, it is a policy decision. So if you have high homelessness in your community, your local leaders have made decisions that prioritize treating housing as a scarce commodity rather than a human right.
Mm, you talking some good stuff. I love you preach for a minute, and I think I've told you before when we've been in meetings. I said, "Wait a minute. I think we got preacher, pastor, Reverend Kathi Thomas." But what you said really resonate with me, like all those things, whether you're there to get, you said the hospital, you had said the university, you mentioned that a place to come and, just dwell. All of those things are so important. And I never thought about it in that way. And that's why we have the professional on to give us a different perspective in that. So let me just dive a little deeper or turn the tables, and let's talk about what the Southern Nevada Regional Housing Authority is doing in their area to provide more housing in Southern Nevada.
I am so excited about the work I get to do now, right? You know, when I worked for local government, I had to focus on 273 things. And I tried to do them well, but honestly, everything can't be a top ace number one priority and be done with excellence. And I always like to execute with excellence. At the Housing Authority, we are building and preserving affordable housing. Now, people have, a stigma in their head when you say affordable housing because they think it means the projects. But affordable housing could be housing that's affordable to you, right? We have an American standard that says you shouldn't pay more than 30% of your income towards housing. So if I'm only making $100 a month, I should only be paying $30 a month. If I'm making 1,000, I can afford 300 and so on. So we get to build housing for people across all spectrums, right? Folks who have zero income, folks who are the working poor, all the way up to what we call moderate income folks who are making 80 to 120% of area median income. For a family of four, that's around $86,000 here. Like, that's a lot of money, but here housing is starting to get very expensive. And so we have some new construction from the ground up that we're building. We just opened up did the groundbreaking for the Senator Joe Neal, which is in North Las Vegas. We've got Duncan and Edwards and 28th and Sunrise, both of which are in East Las Vegas. We've got the Marble Manor development, which I'll go into a little bit later because I think that's probably the most comprehensive project. But so new construction, right? Building new units that are affordable to people who are very low, all the way up to moderate income. And then we're preserving the existing housing stock, right? So a lot of times you see affordable housing is cute when it first gets built and they just let it deteriorate, right? We don't want it to deteriorate. So we reinvest in places like Marion Bennett and James Down Towers. We invest in Landsman Gardens, which is down in Henderson. Yes, we have housing all over the county to keep that affordable, but really nice, aesthetically pleasing, so that something that was built in the 70s doesn't have the same amenities as something we're going to build now. And quite honestly, it needs to be upgraded, right? The flooring is worn out. Sometimes the plumbing, definitely the major systems like HVAC and hot water heaters, right? All that stuff needs to be replaced so that it's somewhere that our seniors, our working poor, and our very low income families have a quality place to live. We've had 10 different projects in the pipeline all over Southern Nevada to either build new housing or to upgrade, rehabilitate some existing housing to keep all of that affordable for families who otherwise would not have a quality place to call home.
And we know that's very needed. Again, going back to what we talked about or discussed before about everyone should have a place to be housed. So I'm glad that you guys also, I did not know, as in Henderson, I didn't know it went that far. So what is your geographical range, if you can give me an idea of where it is from north to south or something in that, spectrum?
Yeah, we partnered on a development all the way up in Pahrump, and we go all the way down through Henderson and Boulder City. So we
Oh,
cover all of Southern Nevada. Yeah,
wow. That's amazing. I did not know that. So, sometime I'm the teacher, sometime I'm the student. Well,
yeah.
today I'm the student. So let's get back into my boat and get into my boat of water. And water for me is very relaxing.
Yes.
And I say that to say, can you identify a song or a particular album that you were able to purchase as a child all by yourself? Like you received some birthday money or Christmas money, and nobody could tell you you had in your mind this is what you wanted to purchase. Can you identify?
So I always laugh because I'm old enough to remember when you used to get these little inserts in the magazine that say 20 cassettes for 1 penny,
What?
20 CDs for 1 penny. Yeah, you youngsters don't know nothing about that. And you could join a music club is basically what it was. and they would do this introductory offer for 1 penny to get all this music. And I got some of everything, like Tina Marie and Bruce Springsteen, and like I got this whole hodgepodge of stuff. I even got some old blues and jazz singers like Billie Holiday, because I had seen the movie Lady Sings the Blues, but that was Diana Ross's voice.
Uh-huh.
And the music was moving. I wanted to hear Billie Holiday's voice singing those songs. So when I got that music club, I can't even remember the name of it anymore, but yeah, you could buy all these CDs, and then every month they would send you another CD and overcharge you for it, right, to make up for them. Like
That
back
penny.
then, they would send you something for $20 with the cassette tapes. This is how old I am. And you would get these cassette tapes, and they would charge you $20 for the next one, because you had just gotten 20 of them for a penny. And I got to just be very experimental and exploratory, if you will, with all of the kind of music that I was listening to back in the 80s. And it really was a hodgepodge of, I can distinctly remember being on a car trip listening to Tina Marie and Bruce Springsteen.
Wow, what a
And
combination.
right, they don't seem to fit, and yet they did. Right, it
Yes.
made complete sense, because those artists were singing about a particular aspect of the American experience, right?
Mm.
And, I was blessed enough to identify as a very proud Black person who had a space in the American landscape. And
Mm.
so, and this was the 80s too. MTV was just getting hot, and um, we were listening to each other's music. And I do air quotes when I say each other. Like, kids from the Midwest were listening to music that they wouldn't have normally tried to access because it just wasn't made available to them. And we were listening to mainstream pop and rock artists alongside, Michael Jackson and Prince and Run DMC, because they were all in heavy rotation on MTV. And it was a time when we didn't realize that music was breaking some barriers. Like,
Mhm.
I was an adult, a mature adult, before I realized the battle it took to get Michael Jackson videos played on MTV,
Girl.
where his record company was like, we will pull every artist on our roster off of MTV if you don't play this Michael Jackson video. And Michael Jackson's video paved the way for Prince and Whitney and Run DMC and all the artists, to at a certain, by the time the 90s roll around, Black artist music was dominating the video genre. But at the time, we didn't realize that it was music that was breaking racial barriers in ways, because we didn't see it. You're young, you're dumb. You don't know that the fact that you are listening to all these genres of music is pushing record executives to challenge other media outlets and their racial stance, because they really believed that there was no audience for Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson, who still is selling at platinum level. How long has the man been deceased? And
It's
every
been.
generations,
Mm-hmm.
right? Every
Mm-hmm.
generation discovers his music, and he is still a multi-platinum seller of his music. That's how important he is to the genre. But when I was younger, we didn't realize that. We were just listening to good music.
Yeah. I think you made an excellent point. One, listening to good music, and two, I'm a native of Las Vegas, and the current local radio station, 88.1, back in the day, was not just a R&B radio station. They played everything. I don't know when the change came, when it became R&B or rap or whatever, but like you said, it was interconnected and we listened to everything. I mean, you had Paul McCartney and you had Michael Jackson. You
Yes.
had and MTV did do a good job with providing a mix of multiple different kind of genres, but I was not
Yep.
aware that they said, "Hey, we'll pull everything if you don't allow Michael Jackson to come on."
Yeah. Yep. It's eye-opening when you get the backstories to some of these really profitable industries that don't realize that Black folks in America, we define cool in every
Yes,
generation. What is
yes,
cool is what we create, what we like in
yes,
every single generation. And it often takes corporate America a moment to catch up with that, to the point where they don't even realize, even in political discourse, how we have influenced the language. And so you hear folks talking about being woke. That that's us, right?
yes, ma'am.
You hear folks talking about FAFO, right? Fool around and find out, or put a little
Yes,
expletive in there. That's us.
yes,
You hear like all kinds of what mainstream calls colloquialisms or slang really came out of our community, and it often is driven through music.
yeah, yeah.
And so they talk about things being blinged out. They don't even know Little Wayne introduced that into the lexicon.
Come on now,
It's
come
like,
on.
really? Is that what you're doing now? It's like, okay. Just so much of what is the easy common discourse is driven by Black Americans, and the channel through which it flows into mainstream America is music.
Ooh, that listen, come on. Listen, she turning into the professor right here. My they listening and they said okay, because it really is true. When you break it down like that, that is absolutely true. And I'm glad that you were able to share your perspective on that. So let's talk about, I mentioned, and this is very critical, and I think anybody that's in local government that works with different entities or you know policymakers have to be able to put this cap on. And what I said at the beginning, that you build partnerships through collaborations and shared leadership. You and I both know how important that is. Can you speak to your journey with that and what got you into that mindset to say, hey, I can't do it by myself. I need to bring everybody to the table and everybody need to contribute, but still hold your status and what you represent. Can you talk about that a little?
Yeah, I learned a long time ago to not care about who gets all of the credit. And when you're not, trying to pat yourself on the back or put feathers in your own cap, and you just really focused on the mission, it really leads to having the kind of conversations you need to have with other organizations and other service providers, because we tend to think in a scarcity mode. If I've been blessed to not think in a scarcity mode, right? I have been blessed to believe that whatever I wanted, I could have. And that's not from an entitled perspective. That's not from a bratty, spoiled, covetous perspective. It's from an abundance perspective,
Yes, ma'am.
that there's enough of everything. This universe is endless.
Talk that talk.
And so if I approach my work that way, like Well, we're trying to get some stuff done. We can get it done if we work together. And so I think it's important to have an abundance mentality when you do this work, particularly when you're working in communities that are under-resourced. Because often there's this scarcity idea, this poverty mentality, because you're working with communities who are struggling with poverty. You show up with a poverty mentality. Something's
Mhm.
wrong, something's broken, something ain't right, it can't be fixed. I don't show up with that. I show up with the mentality that this is a circumstance and a situation. It's not a character flaw. And we can change circumstances and situations, right? And it's important to have a asset based approach. So when I walk into a community, every community has assets, and they may not be the same assets, and they may not be the same resources, but every community has assets. And if you decide that these I call them comadres, because in some communities, right, they're like the in the Spanish speaking community, the comadres are like godmothers or
Mm.
aunties, right? The comadres. They know everything that's going on in that community. They know all the kids. They know who's drunk. They know who don't pay their bills. They know who takes care of the kids. They know who the helpers are. I don't need to walk into a community and say, "Hi, I'm from the government. I'm here to help." You need to walk into the community and find out who the comadres are and
Yes.
ask them, who are the helpers? And ask them, what do the helpers need to be stronger?
Mhm.
What do the helpers need to be more effective? And then do that work first. And then come in and say, oh, the government can do this, the city can do that, right? But only after you've already gone in and asked the helpers how you can support what they are doing. In government, we call it community outreach,
Yes.
because that sounds better than me saying, who is Mrs. Jenkins? I won't talk to Miss Johnson. We tend to go into communities and say, well, let's talk to the churches. Okay, but sometimes the churches aren't where the helpers are, even if that's what you expect. So you have to
Yes.
go in and ask, where are the helpers? Who's doing the work?
Mhm. Mhm.
And you support that work first,
Mm.
and then you build on it. And so some of the transformative things that need to happen always have to come from the people in the community.
Yeah.
Nothing for us without us, right? And you can't do stuff for people or to people. You have to do things with people. So I start there. And then the conversation with organizations. Frankly, it's been important for me to not walk in talking about tearing down silos. I don't tear down silos. My work is not destructive. My work is creative. My work
Oop.
is reinforcing. My work is regenerative. If you walk in talking about we need to tear down silos so y'all can talk to each other better, you don't know why I built this silo. You don't know what I'm protecting in this silo. You don't know what kind of government grants I got that have compliance issues. So I look like I'm working in a silo, but really I'm trying to be compliant with this federal revenue stream so I can keep that resource flowing into the community. We need to stop talking about tearing down silos.
I agree with that.
Yeah, we got to talk about building bridges. You can keep your silo. If you got corn in your silo, I just need to get the corn out so I can feed people, right? I'm
Mhm.
trying to make some cornbread. You got corn in your silo. Let me get that corn. Why are you saving the corn if it wasn't to feed people, right? I'm going to help you feed people. I'm going to help you do the thing you say you want to do.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to require you to change who you are to do it.
Mm.
And so often in partnerships and collaborations, we ask people to change who they are fundamentally in order to get the work done. Nope. In fact, people say, um, you have an agenda. That's right. I have an agenda every time I walk into a meeting. The difference is my agendas aren't hidden.
Mm.
I'm gonna put my agenda right on the table so you can see the 5 things that I think are a priority. And then I want you to put your agenda on the table. You may have 5 things on your list. We're gonna find the commonality. Oh, we only have 2 things on our list that we agree on. Great. Guess what? Those are the 2 things we're gonna work on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
not gonna ask you to give up the rest of the things on your list. I'm going to find the spot, the 2 things that we both agree are important. And then I'm going to bring resources to the table to work on those 2 things. That was one of the biggest benefits of working in local government, because sometimes folks come in and say, give me some money.
Uh-huh.
Well, I ain't got no money, but I had tents and tables and chairs. So if you're trying to do an event, you don't ask me to give you money. Tell me what you're trying to do. And then I can be creative and go, I can't give you any money, but since you're doing this community event, I can make copies of your flyers. I can provide tents and tables and chairs and trash cans. I can help you get some volunteers and those type of things, right? Because isn't that what you was going to use the money for anyway?
That part.
Right. And so when we lay our agendas, our priorities, our plans on the table, we can look and say, oh, you're trying to do a community event. I got some resources. I might not have 2 cents to rub together, but I have some other things that can support a community event. And so I've always tried to do that. Come in with an asset rather than a deficit focus, find the helpers and help them first, and then identify the things that the different players around the table can agree on, and use what I was going to use anyway, right? But just
Yeah.
use it in service of those shared agendas.
I think that's wonderful, but you and I both know it has to be a collaborative viewpoint. Because if you're thinking like that, and I'm just talking from experience, I've sat at the table where that may not have been the thing. But one thing we have done, and I'll say me and you on different levels, you still find that bright spot, even if it's just an inch, to move forward and say, okay, what can we do today? And then from there, trust is built. And before you know it, the collaborative effort has increased into something really beautiful, but sometimes people don't want to do that little small step to get to a bigger picture.
That's true. And oftentimes, because we are working, you and I have worked in communities that were under resourced and that have been marginalized. And so trust is a big issue.
Yes.
And it only takes seconds to destroy trust, but it takes years to build it, right?
Mhm.
And so we have to be in for the long haul. We cannot show up and say, well, I'm here with good intent, and people just trust us right away. We have to stay in the fight. We have to stay in the conversation. We have to, this is the most important thing I've discovered, especially working for public entities. I may show up looking like I look, right, in communities where people look like me, but I still show up with that government logo on, that government badge on. I am an instrument of the government sometimes when I show up. And they don't know, am I Thurgood Marshall or am I Clarence Thomas? Okay, because all kinfolk ain't kinfolk.
Yes, ma'am.
Who am I when I show up?
Yes.
And just
Yes.
because I look like you don't mean I'm down for you,
And that's very true.
right? So I recognized when I walked into the room that I brought the baggage of those institutions with me. And I had to stay long enough and work long enough so that people could see, is this different than it was 10 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago? Our communities have very long memories. We would not have survived if we did not have long memories. So people who are telling us to get over it don't understand our survival has hinged upon us remembering so that we could act accordingly, right?
Yes.
So I'm never offended when people are distrustful. I show up. If you don't want what I have to offer, it's okay for you to refuse what I have to offer. You can't turn around then and say, I didn't offer it though, right? Because I'm
Yeah.
going to call you on that, but hold you accountable for that.
Mm-hmm.
But if what I have to offer is useful, I'm going to show up and I'm going to keep offering it. And I will not be offended when people say, I don't know, because the last time I took a sip from your cup, I got a tummy ache. So, I don't know, right? I'm going to keep offering what I have. This is why you have to go in the community and find the helpers, right? The unsung helpers, not the people who get the accolades and who are always out front and who are the loudest. Those aren't the people that I'm talking about. You go in and you find the helpers
Mm-hmm.
who, if you just showed up every month with food packages, they would distribute them for you,
Yes.
right? If you just showed up with hygiene packs or free books, or once a year have supported their back to school fair, or those are the things I did, right? They didn't seem like big things, but I did them consistently. Whatever I said I was going to do, I did it. And I did those things consistently and didn't try to take the credit for it.
But
Didn't go
don't
in and say, I'm the one that brought them backpacks. Nope. Don't nobody care who brought the backpacks. Did the kids get the backpacks that they needed?
but I think that is attached to your own first personal integrity. First. Because people can sense that people are not, they know, call a thing, they
Yeah,
know that, they can feel that. And I think some people, we won't call names, or it's been the back and forth. We give you this and then they pull it back. We give you this and I'll pull it back. And I think because of that, people have had a bad taste in your mouth. But if you're consistently who you are, whether you work for an entity or not, and say, hey, let me be honest with you. Here's my parameters. Here's what I can offer. And I'm going to tell you the truth. People respect that.
absolutely. Absolutely. It really just comes down to the golden rule and the platinum rule.
Tell
We
me.
know the golden rule, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Hmm.
And I have taken that across my personal life and into my work. The kind of supervisor that I am is the kind of supervisor I would want to have, right?
Yes.
The platinum rule says, do unto others as they want you to do unto them.
Mm.
So the kind of supervisor I thrive under might not be the kind of supervisor you thrive under. I need to give you what you need to thrive, right?
Yeah.
That's the platinum rule. You give people what they need. By the way, that's the essence of equity. Everybody's avoiding talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. The core of equity is you give people what they need to
Mm.
thrive.
Mm.
If we've all agreed that thriving is a goal,
Yeah.
if we've all agreed, for example, that having people housed is a goal, then you give them what they need to thrive. And you don't make it more difficult because of their circumstance, right? It's
Hmm.
more difficult because I'm a woman or I'm Black or I'm short or I'm whatever. Shouldn't be more difficult to give me what I need to thrive, right?
Yes.
And oftentimes, the reason it feels like we're giving this and taking away and giving this and taking away, because we're giving this one size fits all resource. One size don't fit all.
That's true.
We give this one size fits all resource The community can't make use of it because it doesn't fit what they need to thrive. And then as the giver, we're mad and we take it back. Oh, they didn't submit their monthly reports. They didn't, we find all these. Man, I had a great boss. I worked at a housing authority in San Diego 30 plus years ago. Don't tell nobody how old I am. I was still in my late 20s, early 30s. And I had a supervisor who we had taken these grants back from an agency that had gone bankrupt, actually closed their doors. And I was monitoring the grants. We took all the grants back, and I had to RFP the money back out into the community. And the people who did the best client work did not do the most administrative work.
Mm.
And my supervisor said, yeah, I don't need them to do monthly reports. That's why I have you. You
Mm.
do the monthly report. Let them serve the people. And that stuck with me. I haven't always been able to adhere to it because government is government. And we
Yes.
always require these small nonprofits to be, I don't
Tattered,
know.
tattered to the process.
Right. And so they have to be as knowledgeable of all the rules as we are. And that ain't why we gave them the money. We didn't give them the money to file reports. We gave them the money to help people living with HIV and AIDS. We gave them the money to help seniors. We gave them the money to do after school program for youth. We
Yeah.
gave them the money to do a service for people. But we asked them to sit in a back room doing data entry because that's how we think it ought to be. What it taught me was to set up processes and mechanisms that didn't require the best service provider to be the best management analyst.
Now
Better yet,
that's important.
very important. What it also taught me was give that nonprofit enough money to go hire a management analyst. Changed the whole way I thought about monitoring grants and supporting nonprofits to do the work. Because you're right, we give it and we take it back. We give it and we take it back. We often take it back because they couldn't do the administrative BS. They couldn't unravel the red tape. When really that ain't why we gave them the money in the first place. We gave them the money to serve people.
I definitely agree with that. But what it has done when we give them the money, and I'm speaking from a government entity, and they don't fall within the policies and procedures, now they have a black eye. Now, 3 to 4 years later, they want to apply because now they know what the policies and procedures are, and they can no longer qualify for that because that data, that history is still in the system showing they were out of compliance. So kudos to you to put measures in place and say, hey, before you even accept this, let me put some measure in place like a data analyst that can be responsible for this piece where you've always been lacking at, but you've been given what you need to the community. So I think always a good full assessment before we are applying to anything to know where we need to put those I I say fillers in the different holes so everybody can be successful.
Yeah, it's so important, particularly if you're working for the public sector, because this is the public's money, right? And I've always been really big on capacity building and technical assistance. And I do think that's one of the reasons my collaborations have been impactful, have been successful. Because at the core, we got to be teachers, right? We got to share what we know. And the technical assistance or the capacity building, there isn't always money available for it. And so you have to build it into the program so that you're meeting regularly with folks. If they're not filling the invoice out correctly, that's on you. That's not on them. Did you teach them how to fill out the invoice correctly? And if you did, do it again and do it a third time, right? Now, of course, there's a point at which, like, if you 8 months into a 1 year grant and they ain't got it together, okay, come on.
Yeah, yeah.
But you have to build in the mechanisms so that the piece you have to do, because you're reporting to, the federal government or the state or whomever, that it's easy for them to do so that they can spend more of their time serving the community. And we get so caught up in the bureaucracy. And I'm not, hey, hi, I'm a bureaucrat. My name is Kathi. And I have an affinity for public service. And that means that it will come with a certain level of bureaucracy, because I absolutely intend to spend public dollars to serve the public. We should not make the focus of our work the bureaucratic administrative stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, anybody that's ever worked for me will tell you I'm a stickler for compliance.
You
But
gotta
that
be.
is our job as public servants,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to ensure that compliance happens. I don't need a case manager being the data analyst. I need them to understand trauma-informed care. And
Yeah.
I need them to understand motivational interviewing. And I need them to understand the resource network in the community where they live. Now, of course, they need to document this and all those things, but I'll put the report together, right? You ain't got to put the report together. You ain't got to go write the grants.
Yeah.
That's my job. I've always, even as a department head, I wrote grants, because the team shouldn't have to worry about bringing money in to do their work.
Yeah. Yeah.
The team should worry about how to serve people better. So it didn't matter what level I was. I worked in nonprofits. I've been executive directors at nonprofits. I wrote the grants there too, because you don't want your frontline people, you don't even want your mid-level people worrying about money. You
Yeah.
want them striving to serve people. You want them to be effective and efficient. You don't want them worrying about their paycheck and whether or not they have money available to serve these folks.
Yeah.
And that is, we've pushed so much down to the front lines that we forget their job is to serve people.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a quick way, if I can say before we transition, that's a quick way to burn your great staff out. It's a quick way for people to jump ship from your entity to say, or from your government, say, you know what, I'm not dealing with this, I'll go somewhere else. So
Right.
collectively, if they're really good, we want to make sure they stay on, because that's how we can serve the community as a whole. So I'm thankful that you were kind of able to give that piece, because I want people to see it's multiple sides to it, and we do have to work together. It's just like a family, a mother, a father, a child. Everybody needs to know their piece and work together collectively to have a great outcome. So thank you for sharing that piece. We're going to talk about music again that I love.
Yes.
Can you identify a song that you sing the majority, or you sung the majority of your life, and then you was like, wait 1 minute, I've been singing this song and now I realize what it's all about?
Man, let me tell you. So I was a little kid and I was listening to Rick James.
Oh, I love me some Rick.
Ooh, I love me some Rick to this day. Two songs that I was singing at the top of my lungs, and I didn't know what they meant. The first one was Mary Jane. I'm in love with Mary Jane. She's my main thing. Didn't know what I was talking about. Did not know that Mary Jane is not a person.
Yes.
not a girl.
Yes.
In the song, he says something to the effect of, I let her spread her love around. Because, you know, back in the day, you smoke a joint, pass the joint around.
Yes.
I didn't know they was talking about smoking joints and
Yes.
passing the joint.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm like, what on earth? She's not the kind of girl that you can just tie down. She likes to share her love, and she likes to share her love and spread her something around. And girl, please sing that song. And then the other one by Rick James, 69 times. I'm
Okay,
gonna
I
leave
don't
this.
know that one.
She blew my mind 69 times. Yeah, it's okay. I'm gonna just leave that one right there and let folks. I'm gonna let your followers Google that one.
I love it. You know, it's so funny. I know you know who Pastor Kelsey West is.
Yes.
He actually, that song, the first one that you mentioned about Mary Jane, he
Yeah.
used that as an example. He kept saying, I didn't understand why my grandmother was like, don't sing that song, stop singing that song. But
Yes.
it goes back to the ability when we're a child and we think as a child. We have our child lenses on, so we don't think
Yes.
it's anything. And then when we become adult, we're like, well, wait, this is what I've
What
been singing. Yes,
is just and you know, the good thing is that children are still innocent, right?
yes,
And they take things at face value.
yes, yes.
What you show them, what you give them, they accept it like that.
That's true.
And so we were on a family trip, and so my siblings are much older than me. Like my siblings are old enough to be my parents.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm the youngest of five, and there's a big gap. I'm the oops baby, right? Oops. My mother used to say, "No, you're the extra dividend." I'm like, "Nah, y'all both too
Oh.
old." Yeah, yeah. Mother was she was awesome. God rest her soul. That would say I was the extra dividend. So my brothers and sisters, much older than I am. So I probably listened to a lot of music. I would be places with my siblings that were appropriate for young adults, but not
Mm,
appropriate for me.
mm.
So my initial musical taste was really shaped by them. So that's what I was listening to because that's what they were listening to as young adults. And I'm like 9 or 10 years old at this point. And they're adults with kids of their own, right? And so
Oh, yes.
yeah. Oh no, I'm only 5 years older than my niece. That's right, but I'm closer in age to my nieces and nephews than I am to my own brothers and sisters.
So
And so
that makes sense. It definitely makes sense. So you were getting the pipeline from the older siblings and also maybe from your perspective as well. So I get it. I totally get
yeah,
it.
yeah,
So let's talk about the real current thing that's going on or I'll say really huge project that's going on with the Southern Nevada Housing Authority. You mentioned many, you did allude to Marble Manor. So let's talk about what's going on, how many phases will this project be? And it's a lot of collaborators. We know the Southern Nevada Housing Authority is the lead, but we also have other government entities that are
yes.
participating. We talked about that collaboration, the shared leadership that goes back to that. So, whatever you would like to share about what's going on, please give us, because I know you guys just did a block party, if I'm not mistaken, in
That's
August,
right.
celebrating it before the change came about. So I hope I'm not giving you too much too fast, but if you can give us some.
No, not at all. Yeah. So the big project that's going on is the redevelopment of Marble Manor. Marble Manor is a conventional public housing site that's on the historic west side of Las Vegas. And it was built back in the 40s, some phases in the 40s, some in the 50s. And so you have this really old cinder block. Um, it looks like public housing, right? And the city of Las Vegas and the Southern Nevada Regional Housing Authority applied for a Choice Neighborhood Initiative grant, CNI. And we got the planning grant first, and so really partnered up with a lot of folks, most importantly, the residents of Marble Manor, to envision what it could look like if it got redeveloped. And this actually is connected to the 100 plan. Literally, the redevelopment of Marble Manor is embedded in the city's 100 plan, which is a guiding document for the redevelopment of the historic West Side. That document was started by residents of the West Side and grad students from UNLV. And we continued that approach straight through to this CNI application. The residents should really be the ones driving the vision. And it is an awesome vision, right? Well, after the planning grant, we applied for an implementation grant, and we got $50 million from the federal government. And we're matching that. The total redevelopment project is close to $400 million, but we're kickstarting it with this $50 million grant. What does redevelopment mean? Because that makes people nervous. Yep, it absolutely means that the 235 units that are there will be torn down and rebuilt. It means that it'll go from 235 sort of low level scattered across 30 acres to 627 units when it is rebuilt. Every one of those 235 households that want to return can return. That is the law, by the way. There's this thing called the Uniform Relocation Act, URA. And it says if the government does anything to displace you, they got to replace you.
And I'm glad you said that, because that's always the big talk, that, hey, they're building this beautiful place, and in the meantime, you're replaced, but you cannot come back. So I'm glad you brought that up. In addition to that, let's talk about mixed income community and mixed use housing, two different things in one location, correct?
Yes, absolutely. It is. And we got a lot of mixes. It is mixed finance, mixed use, mixed income. What does that mean? Mixed finance means we're getting money from everywhere. Not only that, $50 million from the feds, we're taking out loans, housing authorities putting in money, cities putting in money. There are tax credits. There are home dollars. There are community development block grant dollars. Mixed finance means that we have to keep it affordable because all of those requirements have income eligibility attached to it. Mixed use means it will not only have housing, it will have retail, it'll have childcare, it'll have different amenities. There'll be a little amphitheater, there'll be a water park, not a water park, water features. There will be a green spine, like a linear park, right? Different kinds of uses, not just housing, but housing with retail services and amenities for the residents that live there. Mixed income.
Yes,
means,
that's the part I'm looking to
that's
hear.
the part. Means all the low income families who are in good standing, like you paying your rent, whatever, and you want to come back, you can come back, all 235. Then there will be housing for up to people who are at 60%, like CNAs or barbers, or people working people, but they're still not making enough to afford rent. Those people who are like the dog groomers and the people working at Head Start or nursery schools, right? Those people are between 60% and 80% of area median income. In fact, some first year teachers at Clark County School District are in that range as well.
Yes.
Your receptionists, the people working at call centers, security guards, right? Those folks can now come and have decent and affordable housing. There'll be some townhomes there for people who are at 120% of AMI. So government workers like us, right? We fit up there in that range. And then there'll be some market rate housing. There are folks who, and I call them the young guns, right? Their grandmothers lived on the West Side and they were nurtured by the West Side, but there's no housing over there for them. These are the tech people, the real estate folks. You know some of them. If I call their name, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, I know that," right? These young guns who love the West Side and who spent summers with their grandma over there, who go to church on the West Side, but they live someplace else. They want to be on the West Side, and there's no housing for them over there. Marble Manor will have housing for those folks to come home
Nice.
as well, right? So mixed income means everybody's welcome. Everybody who was there can come back. The folks who teach at the schools or at the Head Start, we got a lot of charter schools over there. They can live there. And this younger new generation who has great affinity for the historic West Side, but there is nothing that's ever been of the quality for the lifestyle they themselves would like to lead and can afford, they can come back to.
I love that. That's definitely those things that you talked about. We need to be able to express that to the audience to say, hey, these things are possible, but more than anything, the love, the ones that have the love for the historic West Side. I'm a native, born and raised. Historic West Side was where all of us was at, period.
Yes,
You know, and with that, being able to return and still have a high quality of life, meaning what you like is what you like. You don't have to apologize if you like the best of the best. My
right.
thing is, can we have the best of the best in the neighborhood so you can be there? So I think that's wonderful to be able to provide that. Now, before we get out of here, let's talk about how many phases that are connected to this process.
Yes, there are 5 phases. The first one's underway now. So if people drive past, they'll see the units down by H Street are being demolished. And it'll be 5 phases over 8 years to rebuild this fabulous thing that the residents have envisioned for themselves. By the way, the residents who are returning, if their income doesn't change, the amount of rent they pay won't change either,
Oh,
right?
I need to pause for a minute. I have
Yeah.
a pause section because you're saying that on video, and somebody will pull that back up and say, Kathy, you said so. Say that again.
Absolutely. The current Marble Manor residents who are temporarily being relocated, all of them get to come back. And if their income has not changed, the amount of rent they pay will not change,
I
right?
think that's wonderful.
Because this is not gentrification. This is not, well, building is cute, but now I can't afford to be there. Yes, you can.
But that's I don't mean to stop you, but you and I both know that has been the reality, not just here in Southern Nevada,
That's right.
around the United States. I'll give you a prime example. Years ago, I was in New York and I was in, I think it was Brooklyn. I was sitting at Sylvia's. I think that's the name of the
Yeah.
restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody that was with me said this was not the reality before. Like, it has drastically changed, and now the people that look you like you and I cannot move back, and they have been here for generations and generations, and they put a Starbucks or a Whole Foods, and now it's a whole nother, and I'm not saying that's bad either way. I'm just saying it's a whole nother population that's came and
That's
taken
right.
over. And we don't want to repeat that process. How about that? And I'm just
Yeah.
going to be very vocal about that, you know?
We do not want to repeat that process. We do not want to dilute the West Side.
Yes.
So it's very important that people understand. It's called Choice Neighborhood Initiative because people get to have choice. Some of the folks are not going to come back because they got a Section 8 voucher. So when we relocate families during construction, they have a choice. They can either go to another public housing site or they can get a temporary voucher, a Section 8 voucher. Many of the families, about 2/3 that are being relocated thus far in phases 1 and 2, the majority of them have chosen the Section 8 voucher.
Okay, so give me some detail of what the Section 8 voucher provides.
It allows you to move into um, any apartment or house that a landlord is willing to rent to you, and you use that voucher to subsidize your rent there. So what came with this grant was additional, what they call TPVs, tenant protection vouchers. So
Mm.
that nobody ends up homeless, nobody ends up in substandard housing. And so you get a choice. I can go to, I can move over to Sherman Gardens, or I can move over to Levy, or, wherever. Many of the seniors, by the way, chose to move to other public housing sites. The folks with kids are like, I've been waiting on this voucher for 10 years. Give me my voucher.
Mm-hmm.
And it's their choice to do so.
Mm.
They, when the development is completed, they have the first right of refusal. They will be offered, let's say I'm in a 3-bedroom when I leave and I still need a 3-bedroom upon my return. They will reach out to me and say, hey, Kathi, come see your 3-bedroom. I can go over to Marble Manor, take a tour, and be like, nah, I'm good. I'm going to stay in the place where I am now. I like this 3-bedroom over here better with my voucher. I can choose to do that. So everybody will have a choice about whether they come back or whether they keep their tenant protection voucher, which is just a Section 8 voucher with a different name, and they stay out in the general community where they are. Now, this thing is going to be so beautiful. I'm thinking everybody going to come back, but I can't make them come back. They can choose to
Yeah.
stay out in the general community where they are. Especially, some folks may use that voucher to buy a house. A lot of people don't know you can use a Section 8 voucher to become a homeowner, but that's a whole nother show.
Well, I'm gonna have you on another time so we can talk about that, because I want to be informed so we can inform our audience, or use this as a reference piece where people can say, no, no, no. Yeah, this person said that, but that's not the complete information, because we know sometimes people play telephone and they
Yes,
say one thing, and then when it gets to the end, it's the opposite of what has been said, and now we got confusion in the community, and people saying no, they're not returning, and they're not letting these people return, and you're like, no, no, no. By law they have to do
by
that.
law.
So
They
now
get
we
the
know,
option.
it's by law. If the law is being turned around and it's not being done properly, now we have legal authority to address it in a legal way. So
Absolutely.
thank you so, so very much for providing that, because those are some things that was hot on the press, or was talked about, and I wanted to have this opportunity to talk to the chief officer to get it from you.
Yeah.
So due to time constraints, Due to limited time, because I'm pretty sure we can talk about 110 more things. But I would like to end this with my third season. My third season, which is now. It. Thank you. Thank you. It's about discovering you. We all have to go into a space where we get to discover ourselves. Can you identify a song that you have discovered and it really resonates with you, but you can dedicate to the world?
Yes. I never say her name correctly. Is it Wapale or Gopele?
Guapale.
Love her. Has a song called Closer.
Yes.
And she is talking about ascension, rising to meet her dreams.
Say that.
And I'm like, yeah. We sometimes forget that to achieve those dreams, it requires an evolved version of ourself. And I am constantly evolving. I am not yet my best self. And that doesn't mean I have low self-esteem. I can love myself, think I'm wonderful, and still know that there is more.
Yes.
More for me to learn, more for me to give, more for me to achieve. And I love that song because it is, I'm not there yet, but I'm getting closer, higher and higher. I'm ascending towards something. And I love that song is on repeat, girl. Look, I have had people make that the ringtone for me when I call them. That's the song that plays because they know
Wow.
that is such an uplifting song. And you were talking about water and the flow earlier. I always feel like I'm floating when I listen to that song, and it is relaxing. It's an interesting thing to be both relaxed and intense, focused and yet relaxed. When I am in that moment, it is that song that is playing where I am totally locked in, no distractions, but I'm calm because I know I got this.
Say that.
And I'm just floating. And I love that song.
I love that you brought that. I think you're the first one out of my 3 seasons that has brought up Guapale. So we're going to give you a clap on that. And I love that you understand the spiritual essence of it is about rising, the high frequency. I'm getting closer. And that's our daily work. Growth is not one time, one day. It's a repeated process because we know when we're not growing anymore, we're somewhere laying stagnant and we're not doing the work. So I love that you provided that. I think that represents who you are. I really have been so excited that you said yes to come on to do this for me. I so appreciate you. Before we get out of here, if someone, and I don't know, if someone wants to get in contact with you, maybe for an interview or have some questions, is it any contact information you would like to provide so they can connect with you?
Oh, absolutely. So the email is the letter K, Thomas at SNVRHA.org. K Thomas at Southern Nevada Regional Housing Authority.org. And I tell folks all the time, this is a public cell phone. You can call me. Your tax dollars paid for it. 702-595-0330.
I love it. I love it. Well, before we get out of here, I always talk about the journey and the destination. The journey is where we learn and where we grow. The destination is where we celebrate. far too often, we're not celebrating. We're just going through the journey. We must celebrate. We must appreciate the work that we have done. But when it's all said and done, we got to get back into that journey. We can't celebrate forever. We got to get back into that journey so we can do our work, so we can elevate and continue to learn. And we'll have a time once again to celebrate. So I appreciate you. When I have my men on, I salute them. When I have my women on, I bow to them. So I bow to you. Beautiful, beautiful lady. And I always like to give my guests the last word. So any last word, anything you would like to share that's on your heart, please do so.
Thank you, first of all, for letting me be here. I love the idea of thinking through the way music both punctuates and illuminates our lives. So thank you for the opportunity to think about these things a little bit differently.
You're welcome. Well, I don't want to say goodbye, but I have to say goodbye due to time. You guys, please put your hands together and thank my beautiful guest. And you know, if you want to contact her, she's already provided you with the information. Please put your hands together and thank Kathi. And as I say to all my guests, I'll see you out here in these Las Vegas streets.
For real. Bye-bye. Thank you.